Hi.
Yo.
Hello,
Good day and GM everyone.
GM.
GM. So yeah, welcome to another exciting edition of the Uniland Finding Alpha here on Binance Live. So I'm AJ, the host for today's session. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of chain abstraction, which has been a hot narrative for quite some time right now. So yeah, as a blockchain evolves, so do the challenges and innovations surrounding it, right? Like the problems faced by blockchains are not the same like 5 years back or 10 years back, and not the same right now. So chain abstraction is a pivotal idea in this evolution that's simplifying how we interact with different blockchains and driving us to other more seamless world. So to unpack this topic, we have an incredible panel of experts who are at the forefront of chain abstraction here. So let's meet our distinguished panelists here. First of all, let's welcome Mayur, the founder and CEO of Arcana Network. Welcome, Mayur.
Thanks for having me.
Hi. And we have Dakota, the co-founder and CEO of InvArch. Welcome, Dakota.
Hello, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, great. And also, last but not least, we have Bern Banksy here, the founder of XION. Welcome, Banksy.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And also, not the very last and least, but we have Unilen's marketing lead, Ayush Garg here. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks guys for joining. We are a little late, but we have a very exciting panel today, and we are going to talk about I think, one of the biggest narrative of 2024, the chain abstraction. We are going to learn a lot about what exactly it is and how our audience can actually, do something about it, like whether they can participate as developers or they can be users or just want to gain a little bit more about it. So let's, AJ, you take the control. Let's start with introductions and then we'll dive deep into it.
Sure. So let's move into panel discussion, I guess, without further ado. So what we are gonna do is I have prepared a series of questions, like 4 to 5 questions here, that will help us, I mean, the viewers to explore the nuances of chain abstraction. So I guess let's dive right in. So to kick things off, let's set the stage for our discussion, right? So let's start by learning what a chain abstraction is. So can any of you just explain the concept of a chain abstraction for our viewers here who doesn't quite have an idea of it?
Yeah.
So, or I mean, oh, my bad.
Take it. No, take it.
I'll try to give like a really brief one then. And then you guys like elaborate on it if you want. But like, so in a nutshell, just to kind of keep it simple. So chain abstraction is essentially it's like chain unification. So very similar to today. Like if you go onto a website, you don't know that it's hosted on AWS or whether it's hosted on Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. The hosting infrastructure is irrelevant to the user. They don't need to worry about it. But it's different in blockchain. We have all these different networks, and as a user, we kind of have to know which network we're on at all times because there's different wallets, accounts, gas, everything that we need. So chain abstraction is focused on abstracting away all of those networks, all those different chains, so that users aren't necessarily aware that they're on all these different networks. So just bringing things, focusing more on user-centric solutions, and getting rid of all of the unnecessary things for the user to be aware of, such as like all the different chains and things like that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think Dakota, you kind of nailed it, right? And I think we'll probably talk about this a lot, but there's definitely, it's easiest to find by the North Star that I would say that we're all going for, which is we just want people to mimic a Web2 experience, right? And I think we could probably all sit here and agree that to get these next actually billion users onto crypto, we need to come to them. And then I think chain abstraction is an interesting, it's the means to the end, right? It's And you get a lot of different approaches, right? You get universal accounts, you get easier wallets, but I think the concept of saying, hey, the chain shouldn't matter, very similar to what Dakota said about AWS, is spot on. That's actually the exact example that I used. And so, and I think we all do, right? Because we all understand where we're going and where we want to go. And that is, I think it's the capacity of which, like, when normal people use Web 2, they just call it the web, right? And I think that's the kind of the future that we're going to.
No, I think the AWS analogy is obviously fantastic, and it should help people kind of realize. But there's this new one that I sometimes share, and it's the one about like payments as they happen on Web 2. Just imagine you go to Amazon and you want to buy something, and they said, sorry, we don't support your bank A. We support only bank B, and now you need to move all your funds from bank A to bank B before you even attempt to do anything on the site. So how do you kind of get what's happened in Web 2, where it doesn't matter what currency you're trading, which bank your money is sitting in, but you can just go and use any card, any payment method to be able to transact effectively and instantly? So how do you bring that to Web3? So that, I think, basically hiding all of the complexity is what we are all probably hoping to achieve with chain abstraction.
Great example. So I don't think it's fair to move ahead without also introducing what all your projects do in the chain abstraction space. Now that the viewers have an idea of what chain abstraction is, so yeah, please go ahead and please explain your project.
Yeah, so let's just follow the same order as last time. So InvArch, surprise, we're focused on chain abstraction infrastructure. There's arguably, and it's kind of interesting, different avenues in which you can tackle a chain abstraction. But the foundation, I'd say the crux of our focus is around omni-chain or universal accounts, as Bert put it earlier. So the idea here that we abstract away all other chains by allowing users to hold assets natively, use any DApp, any asset access any protocol on any network, all from a single non-custodial account. And so the idea here is that if you only need one account to do everything everywhere, then we can, through this, deliver, and like Brent said, deliver the decentralized web as the internet. So kind of one of our theories here is that the way that we access Web 2 today, when you open up your browser, when you think of the internet, half the time you're thinking of a browser in the back of your brain, I imagine. And the reason is because it's not that Web 2 systems are inherently more interoperable, more tied together than blockchain-based systems, but it comes down to how it's delivered to you. And it's delivered to you through a single gateway as one massive big domain and experience. And so if we can deliver access to everything through one account, then people can build products or browser, things like this around that infrastructure. It's like we're not building a wallet ourselves, for example. If we do all this, allow everyone to access everything through this one account, then we can abstract everything away. And there's a lot more that goes into it to realizing a perfectly seamless abstracted experience. But deliver one web, one gateway to access it all is our big passion and focus on what we're on right now. There's other things people can do, like smart contracts that can then execute logic on all these different chains and everything. But focusing on the user side, that's what I'm really excited about. It's just that chain unification, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. I think what we're working on over here at XION is we are the first and only completely walletless chain. And so everything is a smart contract account. And for us, this opens up a litany of possibilities. We're no longer bound by devices. We're no longer really bound too much by chains. And so that's a lot of what propels our chain abstraction. We're really able to do some very interesting things as it relates to onboarding and credit card and debit card throughout all of this. And so for us, right, means to the end, our North Star is complete Web2 experience, and we believe that creating an entirely smart contract based L1 is the way to do it.
Just want to say real quick, a walletless chain. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool flex.
Thank you.
Yeah, even like let's say if I want to interact, I will not need any wallet, or is it like it is compatible with all the wallets?
I mean, technically you could, but everything is a smart contract account. So, but the way that it also works, right? We could sign with anything. You can create an account with any previous wallet, but you could also do kind of social Web2 logins and stuff like that. But yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Mayur.
Yeah, no, very cool stuff. For us here at Arcana, we like to think of ourselves as being in the business of abstractions in general. So, like last year, we launched our wallet abstraction product, where we basically do Web3 authentication with our distributed key generation scheme. We did gas abstractions next, where we basically allowed for sponsorship of gas tokens, and very almost logically led us to this idea of chain abstractions, which we started to think about last year. And we used to think about it with this very this analogy of essentially credit cards. We didn't know what to call it, so we were just calling it credit. And but yeah, I mean, lo and behold, we are now in this space where we have all of these so much hype and all of these different wonderful projects trying to kind of take their own approach to kind of probably achieve the same ends and deliver it differently to the user. And this is what we are currently focused on. So we're building a modular layer 1, which will essentially allow for all of these types of abstractions to be delivered seamlessly to users, developers, and hopefully we'll be doing more abstractions in the future as well.
That's cool. So lot of like B2B approach. Cool. So
Not
let me.
necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, we like to build products on top of our stack and deliver it to the end user. Small products, but hopefully useful products. So we like to take that approach generally.
Yeah, like I've already seen, like it's like you already have a Arcana stack of products, so this can kind of unify them a lot. Makes sense. Let me also plug in a little new project that we are also doing. So at Uniland team, we also saw the trend, and we were like, we launched the lending and borrowing long time back, and we saw that there's a lot of liquidity fragmentation in DeFi space. So we thought that this is one of the biggest problem probably, and that's why we introduced Numa chain. So Numa is basically a solver chain, which will be working on the principle that it is a intent centric modular L1. So basically the user will have to express the intent, what kind of a operation they want to do, and there will be a layer of solver chain which will figure out, okay, this is the best approach, and they will do the operation. So it's a little bit similar, but again, in the approach, it is little different. And also what we're trying to do is solving the gas problem. So there will be, the user does not have to hold different gas tokens in their wallet. They can have any gas token and they can decide, okay, this is the token which I want to pay. They don't have to keep Ethereum, Solana, or whatever, like hundreds of different gas tokens. And like as I think Burn said, that you can do sponsors and other things, so that is also possible.
So I think it's
Cool, guys.
add real quick. I think it's kind of interesting, and you guys can probably relate to it because, like, chain abstraction is it's definitely forming as it's going to be a massive narrative. I know it's going to be a massive narrative, and it's like now we're watching it happen. It's really interesting because remember when it was like a account abstraction. You know what I mean? It's basically like we were building something, like you call it whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, here's our vision, here's what we're building for, and then it's like the industry's like, it's called account abstraction. They're like, yeah, we're doing account abstraction. And they're like, it's called chain abstraction. Like, okay, yeah, I'm doing chain abstraction. And it's like whatever you want to call it, smacking on. You know what I mean? I think it's
you definitely got to add bridging and intents in there because that's definitely found its way into chain abstraction.
I had like my friend Brain Jar from Picasso remember like last January, he was like intent centric to it, and I heard him say it, and I was like, has a nice ring to it.
I remember when we were writing like some of the marketing material, I tried so hard not to say intense, and so I'm like, this worked great.
And don't give
That's
out
cool.
solvers.
Actually, that's very cool. Let's move on to the next question. But I am loving that we are also doing a lot of chatter in between. And also, guys, please stay tuned till the end because there's a lot of alpha going to be dropped here. Yeah, AJ, let's move on to the next question.
Sure, sure. So the next question will be, how can you? How do you guys think the CA will evolve? Not to just connect blockchains, as we all know, but to truly create a unified UX across the entirety of Web3.
Yeah. So my view on this, again, really vibing a lot with like what Bert said earlier.
Hell yeah.
But so he put it dead on earlier how he said it. So it's the end game here as far as UX goes. It's the prerequisite, and the end game at the same time. We cannot deliver Web3 as the internet until we have sufficiently achieved chain abstraction. Like we already mentioned, there's all these scattered networks, all these things. Users shouldn't need to worry about all this. We're used to it. We're numb to it. We're numb to the trauma of knowing which network we're on and switching networks. And regular users, they don't need to worry about any of that. They shouldn't have to. And the objective here is not just to deliver Web3. It has to be at least the same level of UX as Web2. We need to do an even better job if we're then to convince people, to convert over, things like that. So like its impact on UX, it's going to be the most significant, more than anything, because once we have, for example, like I was saying, at least like our theory is like when there is this, you have this one account, boom, one account. Let's say this is our vision. You embed this account into the browser. Like there's a whole bunch of other things, like other teams working on different things. You're gonna have all these different bridges and transport layers, moving things. You're gonna have different like fee routing and gas abstraction protocols in play and everything. But assuming all of that's there, they're gonna open up their browser and they're gonna go to whatever dApp, and I'm just gonna call it apps. We'll probably lose the D at some point. It'll be an industry thing. They're gonna go to whatever app. It don't matter. They're putting the URL. They're gonna go to it. It's gonna use it. The same way that if I want to watch YouTube, I want to watch YouTube, download Google Chrome. Cool. Oh, I need to look up some developer docs. Stop. They don't load here. Sorry, bud. You got to download Mozilla or Firefox real quick. All right, whatever. Oh, shoot. Tom just sent me a PowerPoint. Sorry. Can't use either of these. You got to download a third one real quick. That's called Edge. That's what we're doing now with wallets. So like, again, love what's going on with XION. Wallets aren't going to be a thing. They won't be the standard in the future. There's always preference, you can always have a wallet, can always be extensions, but my theory is that using chain abstraction, there's not going to be a wallet. You're just going to open up the browser. It's going to be like a Google account. I made my account once the first time I downloaded this thing. I'm good to go. I use everything. It doesn't matter what network I'm on. Like Dex is half the time it's the Dex, the marketing, the selling point of the Dex is it's the Dex of this chain. That's not going to matter eventually. What's going to matter is it's the Dex with the best features in the industry. That's what's going to matter. And chain abstraction, I'm getting a little passion here, but it's the key to all of this. I don't know if it's going to be a rising thing. I don't know if it's as hot as AI or RWA, but I'll say for this industry, it's a hell of a lot bigger than both of them combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's a lot like I think we also mentioned like AWS. So maybe it is not going to be that fancy in the face of the users, but a lot of load it will take, and it was going to bridge. And like the biggest I think this point was very cool that you do not need to worry about dApps being on different chains, which is right now one of the biggest worry that okay, this dApp is very cool, but do I have tokens on that chain, or do I even have a wallet and all of that? So
The best
that's a huge opportunity.
speed.
And
Absolutely.
I think if we combine the wallets on different chains, probably we are having 130 million or something of wallet. So I mean, there's a lot of overlap, but we have a huge user base which is kind of fragmented. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
But
like, I think exactly like what Dakota said. It's very interesting because I think even 6 months ago, I think you really didn't see a lot of chain abstraction, and really you didn't have a lot of UX focus either. I think it's one of those things that I think even when talking to people, I think the biggest idea will be seen in the bear market, which is kind of exciting. Where everything is, when then we go from like 2,000 users in all of crypto to like 2 users in all of crypto, which we do every 3 years, to then just be able to have products that are able to, kind of hold its course and be able to actually survive without like the bias of crypto kind of behind it. It's exciting, and I think I think we're working really hard for it now. But I think there's so many different approaches to this, and I think there's no one who's incorrect in this, and there's always going to be different steps. Like some people can be taking one step at a time, and then some seeing 5 steps at a time. And all of like the idea that I'm excited about is that there's a North Star that everyone can align with, which is why you kind of see a lot of these become very repetitive, because it's like, and I think for the first time in a long time, you actually finally get collaboration in or composability in an ecosystem that's composability based, and you can understand that the people who are very anti composability are going to be the ones really suffering from the chain abstraction narrative, and that makes me really excited.
that's cruel, man. Like that's cruel. I think that's whole idea of Web3 is around that. Like, so we see a lot of partnerships and we see a lot of collaborations.
Yeah, I mean, just on the point of composability, if I were to kind of like set the context for how we believe like chain abstraction will eventually get or should get delivered to users, or to the ecosystem at large, is you need to kind of take care of like three things. One is there user experience efficiency? So this, I think we all understand, is that is the user, despite holding funds on different chains, able to instantly spend them on any chain, on any app that they want to? Is there um, efficiency in the developer experience? So if the developer has to we're basically telling people right now that you don't have to keep deploying your app on every chain, chasing users, chasing liquidity. You can now have this future where you can just deploy your contracts or whatever on the chain, on one chain, and you decide which chain based on, does it meet your business requirements, does it meet your functional technology requirements, and that's it, which is what we do in Web2. And that and how do you kind of allow them to kind of now do only this? I think that sort of efficiency is important to deliver. And the third, I think, very important thing is capital efficiency, which I think, I was reading what the guys at Everclear were talking about with their new clearing layer. And that, I think, is going to be an extremely important component, because if we want to make it Web2 like, it's not only in how many buttons I have to click, but how much is my convenience charge. And that is something that has to get optimized over a period of time. I think economies of scale should work even in this space, where we're simply not fronting gas fees, fronting transactions, like the assets that the user wants, and then just making people whole in atomic transactions. It should happen in a more efficient manner, which will make it essentially cheaper for the user and allow the apps to actually drive more value. So I think these three things: UX efficiency, DX efficiency, and capital efficiency. If these things are packaged well, it needs to get delivered. So obviously, like for one entity to kind of do all of these things, it's going to be hard. So I think composability will definitely play a big role.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like we can listen to everyone. Let's move on to the next question. Uh, so the next question is that like, can you give some specific examples of how chain abstraction is already improving? I know it's very early, but if you can, if anything comes top to your mind, that how it is improving the UX for dApps and in DeFi protocols or in metaverse or in existing blockchain uh, scenarios.
Um, Probably like my briefest response. Like you said, it is early, so
Yeah.
at least in a profoundly or profound enough way to get significant attention. I haven't seen anything just yet. It doesn't mean someone out there hasn't done something. I haven't heard about it yet. But I haven't seen anything major in terms of chain abstraction. We're making, I mean, every day there's different teams, different areas, massive breakthroughs in terms of interoperability and bridging, or in terms of account abstraction. Some excellent breakthroughs with account abstraction, social logins, everything there. But I haven't yet seen anything like fully realized. And I've seen like Near, for example, they came out with their chain signature solution. Put a fire under our ass. Like saw that, and I was just me. Like, day one, I'm like, oh, like I have 1,000 things that you could build using this, but I haven't seen anyone build anything yet with them.
So
Yeah, so I haven't seen things just yet. Like I haven't seen. I can tell you how
yeah,
they will.
let me rephrase. So rather than going into dApps, let's see like which will be the first set of industries that are going to utilize and disrupt it, like probably DeFi or Deepin
Wait, so
or
imagine so when you abstract all chains away, more importantly when there is this intent centric when you have this like control panel, where you can, from this one point, I want to execute a set of instructions on this chain, move things here, then do something on this chain, move things here, then you can start to build out really interesting applications. Some of them are just fundamentally new. Some of them are more so evolutions of what we already know, like lending protocols, for example. So like one thing I think would be rather interesting is today, if there's like, a lending protocol, whatever assets are on that chain, and typically it's a asset at a time, I will offer it as collateral, or I will offer it, someone can go ahead and borrow it from me. I think what would be more interesting is when you're able to then collateralize different assets or a combination of assets across different chains. You don't got to worry about bridging them all about. Or maybe, like seedless accounts is like this one of, our accounts are seedless. And so one of the cool things you can do is actually like transfer ownership of these accounts securely. So whether like you collateralize, you could sell it if you want to. Let's say you collateralize your whole account, locked assets and all, like things like that get really interesting. So I think like the takeaway here is that it'll be really neat because then there's the general service, which is lending. But then the range of capital, liquidity, assets that can be utilized in that protocol range from hypothetically any asset across all of Web3, any chain. So it's interesting, then it might just open up, just make lending markets a bit more accessible, make it a bit more interesting, feel a bit more unified rather than things needing to be so scattered. And there's always going to be preferences. There might be a lending protocol that's only, it's on this chain, but they only accept certain assets. But someone likes it, so they're going to keep using it. But yeah, like more unified experiences, like DeFi, things like that. There's things like asset swapping or atomic account swaps, or things like that. That like will also be neat as well. But expanding powerful services is what I'm interested in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're right at the precipice of a lot of chain abstraction innovation. You also obviously kind of seen this with a roaring bull market. We've had some very actually exciting examples, and I think there's two different tracks that I'll talk about. One of them is like purely chain abstraction, which is like more of an interop position, and then one which is experience abstraction, So for us, like obviously end goal, we actually had this very exciting launch last week, which I had an article that I personally posted about today, where effectively it was taking the concept of they're called EarnOS. They launched about like last week with some pretty crazy brands like Uber, BMW, North Face, Baskin Robbins, and effectively what it is very direct marketing. Effectively taking the Galaxy and the Zealy kind of approach, but to traditional brands. And the results are actually really insane. I think we doubled Sunglass Hut's follower count. Same with Baskin Robbins, and then had like a 9,000% increase in social engagement coming from that. And a lot of this is like very, very interesting because every part of the platform, if you didn't know that you were interacting with crypto, like you sure as hell don't. It is fully email login, everything like that. You technically mint NFTs, but we don't use the word NFTs. And you're able to still get that similar level of engagement that you do with, frankly, airdrop farming. But kind of more on an actual like use case level. And then we also had something very exciting with Injective, which was kind of more on this interop chain abstraction side about 3 weeks ago. And then I believe we're having another one coming up soon, which is actually very, very exciting. But where you're able to use a XION account to mint NFTs on Injective and not know that there's any crypto happening anywhere. And so these are really, really exciting use cases that we've seen. I think in total we've had about 2.5 million users and about 30 million transactions on our testnet, and really, really ramping up and excited to go live. But I think there's a lot of interesting use cases from interop standpoint and then from the abstraction standpoint. And I think it's a lot of our jobs to kind of combine those and take this traditional Web3 and this traditional Web2 and slowly bring them together.
Yeah, bro, it's like mind blowing. I have to check it out. Crazy. You have opened a lot of new possibilities, it seems.
Yeah, those are
Very
pretty
exciting.
crazy numbers.
It's very exciting.
No, superb. So we are really not looking at like what the end game is, where I think we aren't able to comprehend what that will look like. The simple 0 to 1 to me right now, in terms of like where it will get sort of used and how it will get used, is basically answering questions about who will benefit most from stuff like this. What type of user? And if you try and look at like crypto natives, they already have their wallets and they already know how to bridge, and they already kind of are calculating all of these things before time when they want to kind of go use a lending protocol, buy a meme coin, trade, whatever. And so they have this model of how things need to work, what is possible, what is not possible. And there's then consequently going to be a lot of inertia to get these people to move on to like this whole new paradigm and do things differently. Bernd Banks is talking about how there are walletless chain and things like that. So how do you kind of get these people to move? On the other hand, you're talking about crypto noobs who aren't really like coming into the space in droves at the moment. This can all change very soon. But do you kind of count on that as your sort of like go-to market as for and I think basically answering this question is what will help define what sort of gets impacted the most, because I think the new users are not really going to jump into DeFi and start speculating and start lending and all of the sorts of things. They're probably going to go mint an NFT. They're probably going to go play a game, probably interact with a social app. So will that happen, or will it be, this inertia gets broken and where people are like, yeah, I'm fine not using my MetaMask to kind of trade and do all of these sorts of things with the crypto natives, and people start doing this day in and day out for, all their DeFi stuff. So there's a bet to be made here, and I think everyone needs to kind of make that bet into saying, yeah, okay, so this is going to be our GTM. This is what's going to give us the best bang for our buck, and then consequently, then see how it plays out. So yeah, that's how I think about it.
Hell yeah.
Got it. So, let's move on to the next question, and then we'll move to the audience question, because we'll run over time. So, uh, I think you already answered about the landscape thing. So I would want to know, since you guys are all kind of techies here, that from a developer perspective, like how this chain abstraction thing will work, and what are the factors that the developers are going to uh, the factors which are going to be crucial for developers figuring out, okay, this is the part where I can do, and I can build a dApp, or I can build a layer, or I can modify my bridge. So for devs, how's the chain abstraction narrative is going to be?
Yeah, well, so I mean, regarding like available like tooling that they have, um, so I imagine here very soon, where it's all right around the corner. I think we're gonna go from 0 to 1,000 options. Like for example, like we're building this omni-chain or single accounts solution. So are others, and more will. We're gonna already solve it, and then someone else is gonna solve it again. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be all these different infrastructure choices. Like we'll have an SDK that's available for people to use. And so when we have all of this, and there's going to be different gas abstraction protocols, so a lot of different options. All of these things which have their shared objectives. They're all trying to solve the same thing. So it'll come down to be cool. It'll be interesting because then there's going to be like choice and options, and I think there's going to be trade-offs between both. One solution might be optimized for one thing versus another. So it's cheaper for this, not ideal for that. It's different flavors. So I do think that'll be really interesting. And then of course it'll ultimately come down to the developer, like what do they need to consider. It'll come down to the tech. It's going to come down to, for example, if there's like a few single account solutions or SDKs that they could use, who's the fastest, who's the cheapest, because that's extra. There's confirmation times on the networks themselves. You know what I mean? Is what it is. So you're adding on to that. So you want it to be as you don't want it to be noticeable. You want it as minuscule as possible. So the infrastructure is going to ultimately determine how noticeable it is and for what reasons. Same thing with like gas abstraction, fee abstraction. Everything that's going to be around, that's going to stay around, will have some type of sustainable business model behind it, whether it's self-sufficient, puts in the profit, whatever. So then it'll come down to, all right, it's going to impact the costs that I incur, that my dApp or the protocol has to manage for. So then you'll look into who does it best and who does it cheapest, and things like that. And things really will drive. It'll be more feature focused versus just solving the problem, whether it's the best way or not. It's just, hey, it is what it is. It's solved. So just the considerations, if done right, you're not worrying about which network or what tech stack, or none of that shouldn't matter. You're just going to be concerned with how fast are things. Obviously, it's secure, but how fast and how cheap, how easy is it to build with?
Yeah, and I think we kind of see this a lot. There's another project that we're kind of working with, which is predominantly the whole team comes from Hollywood, and a lot of like what they're trying to do is a lot of loyalty for like cartoon or their cartoon platform TLDR, but they don't know anything about crypto. They understand the benefits. I think the CEO really likes crypto, and he has like a big holding and really likes the loyalty to it. But they are like very, very fully Web2 team, coming from like the United Talent Agency and all of Hollywood. And they have like a crazy creator set, crazy amount of creators and contracts and stuff like that. But when it comes to crypto, it's hard, right? Like, and I think the issue that we run into now is it's one of those things which is like that meme, which is, oh, there's 14 standards, let's create another one to unify it. It's like, great, now we have 15 standards. I mean, I think it's going to be the easiest way to get to what people want, right? And it's obviously going to be a little bit of marketing to try to find some people, but I think whoever can do it easiest for people who don't know anything about crypto and can take their strengths, utilize their strengths, and then rely as little on the actual technology as possible, or needing to build on the actual technology as possible. Like, I think that's where a lot of the you know, I think that's where a lot of you're going to start seeing the kind of the innovation happen and the choices being made. Like I think right now probably the easiest thing to do is like maybe a privy plus turnkey plus, you know, and then you have these plus. And I remember there was I think it was uh there was one app I saw a while ago. It was Goldfinch, I want to say, and they did like this really funny. It was like click a gong. It was like created a wallet inside a transaction. But my favorite part was like under it there were 5 logos of companies that they needed to work with, and it was like turnkey and privy and safe. And it was like, wow, it took 5 fucking people to make one gong. Like I don't know why this is a flex for anyone here. You know, and I think the more we can actually just create a simple, streamlined process, the easier it's going to be. And I think that's where I think when people can actually utilize their strengths and say, I don't want to worry about this part, that's where you really get like true scalability.
It's like going on every website.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, great. Now I need a manager for this.
Like, okay, yeah, PHP. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, and they rugged. Fuck. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you mean they don't actually do what their website says they do?
What is this? I thought everything on the internet's real. True.
Yeah, exactly. Like their testnets come out in 2027.
All the views.
No, I think what Banks is saying is like spot on. Like, how do you kind of make it super simple for devs to really end up focusing on the core value proposition instead of having to figure out some wonky way of doing like gas sponsorship or something else like that, right? Like, why is gas even a thing is what a lot of Web2 devs who come in for the first time will even wonder. And this is what also kind of turns all these people away. So it, like, in my mind, the way, like, for devs, how it ought to get delivered is what is the lowest footprint sort of integration that you need to do. Can that integration be zero? Is what I would love to see. Is essentially where the apps can be what they are uh, uh, as of now, and the user can still interact. Is that even possible? But if that isn't possible, then what is the lowest level footprint? How do you kind of save developers from this predatory sort of vendor lock-in that happens? And we're seeing this rampant with almost every implementation of account abstraction 4337 right now, where these wallets that people create, these apps create for these users, smart contract wallets, are not portable and they can't be used elsewhere. So people just have to move funds out, and it's this one wallet for this one app. And sorry, you can't even change your provider. You lose all these wallets, and people will lose all their assets in these wallets. So how do you not get into this sort of situation again, especially given the fact that there are no standards as of now? It doesn't look like we'll have standards anytime soon. So to me, it feels like the best thing to do is to like radically reduce the footprint of what developers need to do and how they need to do it. And if you do that, and but still allow users to have this sort of benefit of being able to use all their assets in a one unified balance, one unified account, then I think that'd be ideal in my opinion.
Cool. Guys, drop your questions. We are already getting a lot of comments. It's the chat is getting more and more interesting. We are on the top at the Binance Live section right now. So let me just try to pick up one of the questions. We don't have much time, so we'll probably take 1 or 2 questions only from the audience. Okay, so this one is interesting. How does chain abstraction affect the security and trustlessness of a cross-chain transaction?
So I'll tackle this since it's something that we saw or that we addressed work with InvArch. So
And in order to take more questions, we can, okay, so one person can take one question, and if anyone else feels like adding, they can add to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So So with this, so again, the keyword here is abstraction. The things are still there. We just abstracted away. So you have this one master account. Technically, if you're transacting on 1,000 chains, there's 1,000 accounts, one account on each of those chains. There's, it's almost like this abstracted middleman, kind of. So like regarding security, so what we do here is we have what we call, and it's a mouthful, an MPC TSS protocol. So it's multi-party computation threshold signature scheme protocol, just leveraging crypto economic security. And so regarding the transactions on those chains themselves, like after they get submitted and everything, it's this protocol which does two things. One, it's ultimately responsible for being able to relay and sign, conduct this off-chain message signing, but then of course the security for the whole system, for essentially being like this shattered key holder for all of these accounts that you're transacting on all of these chains. So the security then comes down to this one pinpoint. Now ourselves, we leverage Polkadot's economic security. So there's like, with us, it's like 4 or 5. It's not the total market cap. So I think it's like $4 or $5 billion of security that we have behind us off the bat. But yeah, so that's a fantastic question. But as long as things are built soundly, and it's extremely important. It's the most crucial thing, actually. If something goes wrong here, it's a big problem, because while there is a convenience of abstraction, it's going to make everything more accessible, more convenient, and there will be competing solutions. But for the user, ultimately they are choosing to trust in this one, master solution. So security is the utmost important. You don't want to be using one pass and then find out that it got hacked. That's unacceptable. But at the same time, it's very nice to know that you just have your one password account, and then you can go do log into everything everywhere. So yeah, important. But yeah, that's my answer. Keep it short. MPC TSS, make sure it's sound and secure, but otherwise all should be well.
Pretty good take, and yeah, it's very important. Bernd, Mayur, anything you want to add to this?
The issue is that chain abstraction is such a very wide topic, and there's so many different applications. There are some people who are doing it very unsecurely. There are some people doing it very securely. And so as a concept, it's extremely vague, and it's I would say it's more on the protocol specific to say, hey, how are you dealing with security? How are you dealing with trust and assist as we kind of move forward? Mia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of, sorry.
I was just saying that, like it definitely depends how the users are, initially equipped with the security thing. But let's say if we are talking that the users that you gave example, like who are very native to crypto and who are not going to, utilize it. We all grew up and evolved from the wallets timeline, then MetaMask came and all of that. So a lot of users who
Sure,
are
yeah.
going to be, so
But also,
those
people in this industry always say that you're not in this industry until you've been drained. So I don't really know how good a statement that is.
Got it.
So like
So
things
you are
like
saying
are like unavoidable. So like there's still going to be things like if you sign this, you will get drained. If that function exists and you sign it, whether it's directly through using MetaMask or whether it's using this one master account, then you would still get drained. The difference here would be this though. So let's say you have $1,000 on ETH and $1,000 on Binance and $1,000 on Bitcoin. You have Bitcoin on Bitcoin. You know what I mean. So $1,000 worth of assets on all those chains. You're controlling it with this one master account. Okay. And now with this account, you sign a transaction. Let's assume that because someone could launch a malicious contract on our network. Now that would be the strongest point of attack, because then they could, do something that's controlling the logic at that master account level. Which again, be careful of what you sign. But otherwise, let's say if they sign something and it's on Ethereum, it would drain your Ethereum account. You sign it, then just like it would happen anyway, that account would get drained, but not all of your assets would get drained. Just what's on that one specific network where that smart contract is able to execute that function. But just adding like warnings in the UI and things like that. And it won't be so much about like users, the individual, like which solution safe in that. There's going to be a lot of competing or complementary solutions. So it's going to come down to the developers, the product, the end user products, and which solutions they choose to ultimately comprise their stack and the security of those solutions.
As we
Yeah, I
actually
think-
can say this, someone from my team just got fished for 9 ETH. So, hell yeah. Literally just 2 seconds ago. That sucks.
He's got his badge of honor then.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, see, badge of owner. Let's not fucking have that for the goddamn next billion users.
You made it.
Yeah, right?
You're in blockchain now.
I think this is the only industry where it is a badge of honor. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
The memes
but
will be
it's
so
crazy.
better now. You'll relate to them. You'll laugh a little bit harder.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Mayur, you wanted to add anything?
Yeah, no, I think both of them have like mentioned like very good points. The only thing I'd add is that so for marketing's sake, I think almost all of us will probably end up saying things like spend any coin on any chain, and this is essentially like utopia for users in this space. And that's what chain abstraction promises. But when it comes to security, it's so many things, right? Like not all chains are equal. Not all block space is equal. Not all coins are equal, and most definitely not all versions or instances of coins or tokens on different chains are equal. So, like as we sort of like kind of bootstrap each of our solutions, I think it's very important to kind of take into account, what are the reorg risks of this chain that the user wants to transact on, where my solver is going to front liquidity. What is the liquidity available for this version of ETH on this brand new L2, and things like that are going to become like very, very important. And if we take care of all of these things instead of just diving straight into it, then I think we'll be doing everyone in this industry a favor and actually delivering secure solutions.
Got it.
Hell yeah.
Let's go to the next question. AJ.
Yeah, guys, how do you think CA can help in liquidity utility? As you know, like there are billions and billions of TVL in a lot of different chains. Basically, liquidity is scattered. So, how do you think CA can help in liquidity utility?
Well, so it'll come down to two things, two quick answers here. One, the ability to actually move those assets from chain to chain. I mean, that's always going to rely on bridging transport layers, but a lot of those solutions, actually trustless solutions, not you, Wormhole. Sorry, Dan, I love you. My friends work there, but yeah, they're coming about. They're coming to the light. They're coming to the surface. So we'll get all of that here. I imagine in 5 years, everything's going to be connected. Now, what does that actually mean? With account abstraction, I'll say this: the important thing is being able to access all of those funds. So every network bridge, that's another account to manage. So yay, I can move BNB to 15 chains. That's 15 accounts. So that's gonna make sure that doesn't become an issue, a pain point in chain abstraction. But then also cooler things, in my opinion, bridgeless asset swaps. So I have $1,000 worth of USDC on Ethereum and $1,000 worth of Bitcoin on Bitcoin. And I'm going to, like I said, you can transfer ownership of these accounts. So I'm going to not send the actual assets over the networks, but I'm going to send them to a sub account, abstract the users even now, and I'm going to trade ownership of those accounts. So I had $1,000 of USDC on Ethereum, and next thing you know, I have 1,000. It's I think that'll be cool. That's not unifying liquidity at all. It's just kind of an interesting, someone argue a hack way around accessing it all and moving it around, exchanging it. But yeah. So it'll streamline access. It'll make it feel like it's accessible all as one thing. But then what you can do with it will come down to bridges. But that'll be the US dollar. You can you can hold assets or you can hold money, whatever, within accounts across Web 2. But I can't take my Roblox bucks, what the heck they're called. I can't send that to my GameStop account and now have credit it just don't work like that. You know what I mean? It's like that's a different type of thing. And that's what bridges are gonna, what they focus on.
Got it. So we are running short of time. A lot of users are sending questions. We are not able to take the names because it is showing Binance user something, but our team is taking screenshots. So don't worry, guys. Now I'll take the last question and then we'll move to the alpha part so that our guests can drop some alphas about their project. I think a lot of people are concerned about lot of things. So this one is again little bit concerned that are there any scalability concerns associated with chain abstraction? I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
In a way, no. I think we do this every 3 years where like the chain abstract, like the app chain thesis is now the modularity thesis, and it's the same thing over and over. But I do think that like with the modular thesis kind of comes out this chain abstraction thesis, especially with Celestia doing so well. Quite frankly, like I'm a pretty large proponent of the modularity or the once previously app chain thesis. And I think you see Ethereum getting there with the insane amount of L2s, 3s, and 4s kind of coming out. And whether you want to call that eventually an app chain or an industry chain, whatever you want to call it, it's mimicking Cosmos 2020 or 2019 era. Which is very cool, and I think it's very exciting. And then you see things like IBC and interchain accounts kind of coming right back up again through the form of chain abstraction. So I think it allows for developers who are more crypto savvy to spin up their own chain that is specialized without sacrificing some of the liquidity or the other reasons why you might also want to be on more of a quote unquote monolithic chain. Dakota?
No, so with me, I was just gonna say, so technically, I guess what I asked myself is, what do you actually do it? So like, what if one day there's actually a billion users, and it's not just Reddit, and we have them all using this, and then what would scalability look like there? So like, the question popped up, but a little bit of my bias here, but so like Polkadot, and granted, this wasn't part of my bet 2 years ago. It didn't exist 2 years ago in our ecosystem, but we now have what we call core time. So if you're familiar with AWS, like a traditional business, like you have compute, you have a server. I need more. What do? You'll launch another server and repeat. You know what I mean? It's horizontal scaling. So Polkadot now has that. Literally just launched and will continue to get iterated on. But so it's called core time. Basically, like here's a core, here's all this block space. And then if we ever need to scale, if we push the bounds of that capacity, which is a lot, but if we do, get another core, and we have 2 cores, and we need another one, we get 3 or 4. So we're good. It wasn't a concern. It was a responsible curiosity. But no. I think that scaling, thankfully, will one day. It'll always be something to consider, but it will one day. It'll cease to be an industry problem.
Got it.
Yeah, largely for me, I don't see like scaling problems existing per se, because you have to look at it relatively to what is how people do it right now, and people do it on bridges, and bridges take minutes. They used to take much longer, but it's tens of minutes at least. And as long as you're faster than that, and the guys at like across are showing you how they can be much faster than any of these traditional bridges. So as long as the chain abstraction solution gives users almost this near instant sort of thing, which is wholly possible, then I don't see how scaling is a problem.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, right now that's the thing. We don't want any, like we are in a very early phase and we want it to scale that crazily that it sort of flags some issues or anything. So let's move on to the last segment. We are already shooting up the time. Sorry, we got a little bit delayed in the beginning. So, guys, you can drop some alphas for our audience. We have around 5,000 people already watching us. So this is going to be crazy. Please, guys, uh, keep watching, and after the everything, after the alpha, I'll drop one alpha from Uniland side as well.
Yes. Good. I'm not gonna first. So some alpha. I'm excited to share, and we'll be releasing a live demo, showcasing a live demo of this at ETHCC in Brussels. Hope to see some of you guys there. But as of a week ago, internally, we haven't publicly released the details. But as of a week ago, our CTO Gabe, brilliant. Was transacting using an InvArch account, which is a substrate-based account on Polkadot, the Polkadot ecosystem, was transacting on Ethereum Base and Bitcoin with that one non-custodial account, i.e., as of a week ago, we have achieved the first version of our MPC TSS protocol. So that's the alpha. It's really big. Formal announcement hasn't hit yet. We haven't formally showcased anything, but yeah, TSS has been achieved internally.
That's cool. I think we are also going to probably attend the ETHCC, and it's
Awesome.
going to be wild, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Hey, Bernd, you can go ahead.
I totally forgot the question. I apologize.
So the question was to drop us some alphas about your
Oh,
project, which
yeah, alpha. Sorry. How could we do one of these without that question? Yeah, I mean, alpha. Jesus Christ. Definitely stay. I would say for everyone, kind of follow us on Twitter, Discord to kind of stay up to date for everything. We have so many exciting projects coming through the pipeline and a very imminent mainnet launch, which is very, very exciting. Yeah, as it relates, yeah, coming next week for
man,
some exciting.
you have so many alphas, I guess.
I think I'll relate with a little bit of Picasso because Dakota, you guys use Picasso, correct?
Oh yeah, I love Branger is a good friend of mine.
So I think we're working with Picasso. I could totally be wrong. This could not be alpha. And
bullish and super pump my bags. I'm super.
no. Here's the issue. I could be wrong on this. I'm pretty confident we're working with Picasso soon. So I could be wrong.
They're IBC to. I mean, they did it. They didn't just talk about it. So I love to see what they've done.
Yeah, they're a good team. I love anyone building interop. Is in true interop. I love it.
Winner. I love that underdog, and that. Yeah. I mean, I love that guy.
Love it.
Man, that's crazy, man. It's pretty big, I guess. So, and if you want to drop one more alpha, we are okay, or we can go ahead to my
another alpha.
I saw you do that look where you almost said something that you're not supposed to say yet. You know what I mean?
You know how much shit I get yelled at for saying that I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to say? I probably already have. So I don't think I talked about the Samsung thing before, but yeah, that's exciting.
Okay.
That's how you drop alpha.
Okay. So let's get to Mayur.
Yeah, on our side, I also don't know if I have permission to say a bunch of these things, but I'll say it all the same.
We have to drop alphas which we don't have the permission for.
Yeah, I'm genuinely worried for myself, but we actually drop our whole chain abstraction thesis next week, and we later this month will have our testnet go live. This will be an incentivized testnet where not only validators but also our users will actually have a little app built on top of the testnet stack, which people can actually sort of use, and you'd be incentivized to kind of use it and let us know if everything's working and is shipshape. So all of this over the next month or so.
Pretty cool. What a great show. So guys, let me drop a little bit about our product as well. So we are also planning to launch our testnet. Initially, we are going to test how the solver chain can work, and please stay tuned. our team will showcase all the projects Twitter, so you guys can follow it. You can follow all of the speakers. You will find the links in the announcement, and you will find the link on our Twitter page. So do follow. There's crazy stuff happening. Like I think it's the stack is pretty full, and everybody is going to ship a lot in this whole season. So thank you guys for taking out time. I think we have overshot a lot, but you guys have been amazing. Thank you guys.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And Burnt, Mayor, it was fantastic to meet both of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Talk
Thank
soon.
you.
Likewise.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Mayur.
Take care.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
All right, guys. So keep following us and signing off. Bye bye.